are live.
Hi there. Welcome to this month's free training intensive. We at the Men Project are so glad you are here. My name is Annette Oltmans, and I'm the founder of the Men Project. I'd like to make a quick note to let you know that this training intensive is being recorded and will remain on our Facebook page for you to review again at a later time and forward to anyone who you believe would value the information we're sharing. If you've been following us for a while, we ask that you would help us spread the word about the Men Project by sharing this recording or any other resources that you can find on our website with your friends, your family, with therapists, and with faith-based organizations. Before we get started today, I'm excited to let you know that we are launching our first cohort for our 7-session comprehensive virtual training curriculum, and it will be open to the public. We're so excited to share this deeper training with all of you. Be sure to sign up on our website and you will receive information about the training as well as a link to register. Each month, we provide these training intensives to the public free of charge. It's our opportunity to go a little deeper into some of the subjects that many of you have been asking us to speak into. And we are a nonprofit organization that operates solely on donations. So if you can, please consider donating to the Men Project to enable us to continue helping victims and to do the important work that we do. Simply visit our website and press the donate button to find out how to give. Today, we are talking about an area of domestic violence that is less visible and less recognizable to others as abusive. Most people don't ever hear or talk about it, but it's widely experienced in abusive relationships. It's financial abuse. Our team at the Men Project hears stories from countless survivors who have experienced financial abuse in their relationship. And most often, the abuser has exercised such strong financial control of the couple's finances that the victim is left with scarce to no resources to cover their basic needs or the needs of their children. This makes leaving the abuser even more challenging. The victim often fears how they will care for themselves or their children when they have no access to money. Usually, when an abuser learns that their spouse is planning on leaving, the level of financial control they exert increases significantly, and it immobilizes victims who may feel they are unable to leave the dangerous, abusive home due to lack of funds. And financial abuse carries over into the relationship during a separation or divorce, making the decision to set boundaries even more difficult to consider. So well, let me just say before I move on, there's other forms of financial abuse too that are not what I just mentioned as very typical, and we will get into those. But what exactly is financial abuse? Financial abuse occurs when one controls another's ability to acquire, use, and maintain any of their economic resources. And while it isn't talked about and it doesn't make headlines, it is incredibly debilitating and it's pervasive. In other words, it is present in almost all situations where abuse is present. In a 2011 study done by the Center for Financial Security at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, 99%, all but 1 out of 103 women surveyed had experienced domestic abuse that included financial abuse, coercion, and control. Financial abusers use money as the weapon and means to gain and maintain power and control. It's not so much about money, but rather it's more about controlling the other's ability to have autonomy and to move freely in their lives. Financial abuse is all about power. Similar to covert emotional abuse, financial abuse is hard to recognize and identify. It can appear as someone being generous or considerate, for example, a spouse who wants to be the sole provider so their partner can stay at home. And then the sole provider pays all the bills or provides him or her with a credit card. It often begins small, but it easily rolls into one partner being in full financial control of every credit card, account, and all the decisions regarding money. In essence, it keeps one person in charge and in control while the other has limited access and decision-making abilities. So what are a few signs where financial abuse is present? There is an allowance or a budget without the input of the partner, elderly parent, friend, etc. All expenditures must be accounted for by one partner, but not by the other. A sense of entitlement with money by the abuser. Limited or no access to bank accounts. One partner pressures the others to not work. One partner interferes with the other's desires for educational advancement. Financial abuse happens. I mean, this is just a few of the ways that it plays out. But financial abuse happens to people of all socioeconomic backgrounds and all ages, from children to the elderly. Not only does it take place between significant others, but it can also take place in families as well, between parents and children, where, for example, a parent may fraudulently use their child's social security number to take out loans or run up credit cards in their child's name. Or it can happen between friends. For example, when a friend continually has you pay for them or borrow money without paying you back. Excuse me one second. Financial abuse can present in multiple ways. It does not look only one way, like I said. Here are some ways that victims may experience financial abuse. One partner prevents or forbids the other partner from working, so they are financially dependent and under the abuser's control. Or one partner refuses to allow the other to take part in any financial decisions. There are double standards, where one partner can buy what they want, but the other partner has to ask for money to purchase even minor items. Or the abuser pressures the other to quit their job, or they try to get the victim fired from their job by texting incessantly or showing up often at work to argue, or they'll even publicly discredit the victim to their boss or to their peers. And the constant disruptions ultimately does get the victim fired. Another way that they financially abuse is maybe they keep the funds that the victim needs to pay for household needs depleted, so she doesn't have, or he doesn't have access, but they spend what they want when they want on themselves, leaving the victim unable to meet those basic needs for themselves and for their children. They may prohibit the spouse from being involved in banking or investment decisions, or they may take financial risks that the victim doesn't feel comfortable taking, but has no ability to stop. The abuser may use the victim's name and take out loans that the victim is unaware of, or open credit cards in the victim's name and run up the debt and not pay the bill to damage their credit. Some abusers only pay the bills in a timely manner that are in their own name, and they secretly don't pay bills without informing the victim that are in the victim's name, or they'll make late payments to damage the victim's credit so the victim can't qualify for a loan, for a credit card, or home rental if they decide to leave. In other situations, in contrast to what I've already mentioned, the abuser refuses to work or refuses to contribute to any financial needs of the household. And they may even pressure the victim to sell sentimental personal items or to reach out to friends or family members to get their bills paid. If the victim has a saving fund for emergencies, the abuser might try to get access to those funds for frivolous purchases and shame the victim for saving money. Some may steal money from the partner, while others may control every detail of the budget, track every purchase, and demand receipts down to the penny. And some abusive men like to keep women dependent on them. They limit the victim's ability to gain financial autonomy, regardless of the victim's abilities. Abusers know that victims are unhappy, so there is a strong undercurrent using methods to keep the victim trapped. And punishment is a part of every abuser's mindset. Therefore, it's not uncommon during divorce proceedings that the abuser will continually request continuances to drag the court process on and to increase attorneys' fees in order to drain the victim's finances, sabotaging their ability to maintain legal counsel. Or maybe they don't pay child support when there's a separation or divorce. And when the victim is able to secure help from family, church, or friends to subsidize the fact that he or she is not getting child support, then the abuser shames the victim for not being able to take care of themselves. Money is used as a ploy to control, to ridicule, and to retaliate. Financial abuse is often one of the first signs of a coercive relationship where one person powers over the other person. The victim is often gaslighted by the abuser, conveying to them that either they shouldn't worry about money matters because everything is under control, or that the victim is not competent enough to be involved in finances, putting the victim down. Financial abuse is only one of the emotional tactics that abusers use to deeply confuse their victims. There are usually a myriad of other covert emotionally abusive behaviors employed that keep the victim off balance and thinking something is inferior about themselves. A healthy relationship would instill an attitude of transparency where both parties are fully informed with equal access to accounts in case one becomes incapacitated, whether or not both parties are actively managing and balancing accounts, etc. A relationship that's based on equality would also allow for both parties to develop autonomy, such as opportunities to establish healthy credit ratings. When one party is pushed into the background or is powered over, this minimizing attitude carries over into other segments of daily life. The victim becomes more stressed and confused and full of self-doubt, which often leads them to becoming more vulnerable in the process. High stress and confusion from other coercive tactics that the abuser is using often leads to post-traumatic stress disorder. In the Power and Control Wheel, published in Duluth, Minnesota, it defines other emotionally abusive tactics that constitutes domestic violence. For example, minimizing the victim's thoughts and feelings, blame shifting to make the victim responsible for most conflicts, defensiveness, which stonewalls any hope for a healthy resolution to conflict, and other similar behaviors and other confusing behaviors. These behaviors can be very hard to describe or understand, which is one reason why it can be very stressful and confusing for victims. Excuse me one second. So for a complete list of covert emotionally abusive behaviors, please visit our website at themendproject.com. We have terms and definitions that will help you identify the behaviors playing out in your relationship, or they can help you come alongside a victim with this important resource. When covert emotional abuse is present and the victim understandably develops post-traumatic stress disorder, the victim's sense of self deteriorates further. They become more fragmented in their thinking. They may develop physical illnesses caused by the high stress and their immune system being compromised, which ultimately leads the victim to becoming even more dependent on the very person who's harming them. Abusers then make matters worse by shaming them for their confusion or having medical illnesses. A financial abuser might also present themselves as overtly controlling, which is different from covert emotional abuse. Overt uses intimidation, name calling, put downs, and threats. For example, they may force the victim to comply with demands to work and hand over their paycheck. Or in contrast, as mentioned previously, the abuser may force the victim not to work so that they have no voice when it comes to finances. In both of these examples, the victim has no power because they fear retaliation that will be carried out in various ways. Abusers always behave in punishing ways. whether there's covert emotional abuse or overt emotional abuse. It's present, and the victim is stuck trying to decide whether setting boundaries or confronting the situation will be worth it in the long run, or if it will just bring on more punishing behaviors. So they live in fear. Victims often feel trapped. And the financial abuser lies, manipulates, and demeans in order to maintain control over the victim, making sure the victim is, or at least feels, powerless to walk away from the relationship. The victim's increased level of dependency on their spouse due to the extraordinary financial control being exerted over them emboldens the abuser to behave in even more controlling and abusive ways. So often the abuser has influenced the victim to give up their job to care for their home and children, when over time then the victim may feel unable to simply leave and obtain gainful employment because they've been out of the workforce for a while. So you can see how it's just very insidious, and it's very layered. Victims most often feel financially dependent and not confident that they will be able to stand on their own 2 feet if they leave. When finances are controlled or blocked, the person then who's being victimized cannot move, so to speak. It forces them to remain in place and keeps them locked in a cycle of abuse. In fact, according to a study by Allstate Foundation's Purple Purse, lacking financial knowledge or resources is the #1 indicator of whether a domestic violence victim will stay, leave, or return to an abusive relationship. Financial abuse is an effective lock on keeping the victim in the relationship, and its effects are long-lasting. Depending on the dynamics of your relationship, you may want to broach the subject with your partner to test the waters. Tell them it's important for you to become knowledgeable about family assets and family expenditures in case anything should happen to either one of you and you would need to know. Tell them you need your name to be placed on all accounts. Or try telling them it's important for you to work with them on a family budget and you want to be more involved on the ins and outs of your resources. If you don't earn a living, you may want to consider getting a job if you can. See if your partner supports you in your choice to work. By all of these questions asking your partner, you will learn very much by how your partner chooses to respond. If you believe that financial abuse is present within your relationship, we understand how stuck that can make you feel. Leaving your abuser is never easy. And with this additional layer of financial control and oppression, it can feel nearly impossible. But it is possible, no matter what financial circumstances you face. Deciding to leave requires significant courage and planning. If you reach out to your local domestic violence agency, they will be able to direct you to resources that will help you make this transition, and they will be able to support you along the way. So they offer a myriad of services, and I just really encourage you to tap into them. If you are having trouble locating an agency in your area, contact the National Domestic Violence Hotline, and they will help you locate resources nearest you. Many who find themselves in this situation seek help from family and friends or their local church and lean on people who they can trust and who will not judge them. Perhaps you have family or friends you can stay with while you navigate separation or divorce. It can feel uncomfortable to ask for help like this, but more likely than not, there are people who will want to help when they know the circumstances that you're facing. And if you are in need of help with things like groceries, baby supplies, children's clothes, for example, you can look into food pantries in your area, or you may choose to look into getting assistance with food stamps and for use at the grocery store, and just for a season until you can find work. Other situations, you may want to try to work on the relationship. And I encourage you to have a third-party person that you really trust to be able to help you confront the financial abuse that's taking place. But if you've decided to leave, I just want to recognize and affirm that it can be a humbling experience, particularly if you're starting from scratch, but don't let that deter you. Freedom from abuse is the best way to live out the remainder of your life and for the mental health of your children. Excuse me. So if you are in that place where you need to or want to get out of an abusive situation, you can do it. You may do it with only the clothes on your back or just one suitcase, but don't let that deter you if it's time to leave. There is hope to start over and begin again. And abuse escalates over time, so it's only going to get worse. And many who have gone before you and through this process say it was well worth it. It was really hard, but they find joy, they find happiness, and they find mental health. I want to make a quick note that's really important. Before you leave, if that is your decision, make sure to gather all important documents such as birth certificates, social security card, marriage license, and any financial records you have access to. Make copies of it and keep it in a safe place outside of your home while you are preparing to make a plan to leave so that your abuser does not become aware of your plans before you are ready. If you are in an abusive relationship and you do have a job and make an income, open up a separate account in your name only and start saving up as soon as possible, as much as you can. If you have been following us for any amount of time, you know that abusers work in covert ways that are so subtle and crafty that the victim doesn't even realize what's happening. The mantra the victim may hear from the abuser could lead them to believe that their financial control is an act of love and care, making the victim feel uncomfortable when they try to set boundaries or demand equal access to finances. If you think financial abuse may be a possibility at all, you need to protect yourself. Here are some questions to ask. Is your marriage an equal partnership financially, whether you both have income or one spouse makes less than the other? Are you treated as financial equals? Do you discuss finances together in a healthy way, with both people being heard and respected in their wishes and desires? Do you negotiate or compromise, or does one spouse simply make financial decisions without the other party's input? Do you have a family budget in place that is mutually agreed upon and one that both parties respect? Do you tiptoe around or avoid talking about certain topics, such as finances, because your spouse does not allow for mutual discussion? Does your spouse continually push off conversations around money or get angry when you raise the point? If you answer yes to any of these questions, you will want to take some of the protective steps we previously discussed. If possible, people seek counsel from a domestic violence shelter's legal division, and it can be very helpful. Identify one or two family members whom you know you can trust, and be really careful about that. And start coming up with a savings plan, even if it's small. It's something. In case you need to leave the relationship, also identify a place you can stay while you are in transition. While we took some time to address financial abuse today and how it presents and how to determine if you are experiencing it, we understand that this is much more challenging than what we've simply talked about. These types of relationships have roots of manipulation and control that go deep down and make it seem impossible to leave or to get help. And while we know it does feel that way for those who find themselves in these difficult situations, we want you to know there is hope. There is a way to get help. There is a way out, and there are people who can stand and will help you get on your own 2 feet. And if you are a responder of abuse who is walking alongside someone facing financial abuse, you may use this information to encourage and help them. Understanding financial abuse yourself will allow you to offer compassionate support as they struggle with what they do about their current circumstances, and confidently affirm them if they are considering leaving an abusive situation. When they are ready, some of the tips and guides I mentioned can be helpful in their journey, whether you share those steps with them yourself or provide them access to the video recording on our Facebook page. Whatever you do, we are grateful for your decision to continue to support and encourage them on their path. It's not always easy, but victims need connection by people who are trustworthy and who won't abandon them at a later date. Stay the course with them. You may be the only relationship they have that represents healthy communication and love. You can be a healing balm on their journey to wholeness and to freedom. If you feel ill-equipped, you can find countless resources on our website at themenproject.com. You will also find our phone number and email addresses, where our team is most happy to coach you through the process. Now, I'll take a few minutes for Q&A, but if you have to leave, thank you so much for being with us today. Have a great rest of your day. Jill, do we have any questions?
We do. We have a couple and we have a comment. I'll start with a comment. The comment says, I appreciate the work that you are doing. As a resident in counseling and survivor of covert narcissistic abuse, I have seen financial abuse occur over and over. These non-physical abuse tactics are so often missed. As a counselor, it's my passion to support these victims. So thankful to have all this knowledge and understanding in someone who's doing work like that. So,
well, thank you for that affirmation. It's very encouraging. This is a hard topic, so it's very satisfying to receive affirmation. And I love the fact that you're helping others through this journey. It's a difficult process. So good for you. Thank you.
And then there's one more comment here. It says, I was not taught financial management from my parents and have a lot of stress and anxiety around those issues. I would rather not deal with any of our finances, but I see some concerning things in my relationship, and I'm wondering what I can do to prevent these things, but also remain within my comfort level.
Well, knowledge is power, and clarity and knowledge will diminish anxiety. So I really encourage you to start listening to this wonderful podcast. It's by Dave Ramsey. It's the #2 radio show in the country, and it gives wonderful financial tips. And he has a website, and he has great books and tools, and it can really help. It's simple, it's straightforward. People call in and ask questions. And I just really highly recommend that to help you slowly gain knowledge and to feel more comfortable on the topic.
That's great. Thank you, Annette, for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
We do have a question here. Do you know of good resources for victims who know that they need to leave but don't have those resources to leave yet?
Well, like I said in this talk, I highly recommend that you reach out to 1 or 2 or 3 of the local domestic violence service providers in your area, because no 2 agencies offer exactly the same services, and you can really glean from them what is available to you. Some provide housing for extended periods of time, some provide legal aid, others provide counseling, or all of the above. And so I just really encourage you to advocate for yourself and seek out those resources in your area. And if you have trouble, like we mentioned, call the domestic violence hotline, the National Domestic Violence Hotline, and that they should be able to give you resources that are nearest to your location.
Great. Excuse me. Great. So one more here, and I can really, feel this question. This feels like an impossible thing to change once you are years into it. What are some good first steps, or maybe one good first step when I don't know where any of our accounts are? Is there something I can do to start?
Oh boy. Well, I personally, if it was me, I would ask questions and say that you want to be informed, you want confirmation. Well, before I say I want confirmation that I'm on the accounts, I would say I want to be informed, and ask your spouse to bring home documentation to show you what monies there are, where they're located, and so forth. And if you can, maybe when he or she is not looking, use your phone and take photographs of the account numbers and confirm that your name is on the account. If it's not, I would tell your spouse that you're very uncomfortable with that if something happens, it puts you, it's completely unfair, and it's not what marriage is about. And if you want to have like an intervention where your spouse, you enter a therapeutic process where your spouse will be informed that this is a form of abuse, I recommend the Marriage Recovery Center. They do online groups. They have one-on-one sessions via Zoom or phone, and they're very experienced in identifying abusive tactics and confronting those tactics and labeling them as abusive. So they're one of the few counseling programs that I would recommend because of their experience dealing with these types of issues. So many other therapists are not trained in covert emotional abuse and these more difficult to name, and it's not direct physical violence, and so they're not experienced in how to identify these behaviors or how to confront them properly. And so I highly caution you against going into a couples therapy type of situation, but rather I would reach out to the Marriage Recovery Center. You can find them online, and schedule a conversation privately first with, I recommend Dr. David Hawkins, or their other doctor they have there. Her name is Charmin. I can't remember her last name, but they're both very experienced in dealing with issues like these.
Very good. Thank you, Annette. And that is it for questions and comments today.
Okay. Well, thank you everyone for being with us today. And if you have any further questions, please reach out to us. We answer every email. And if you need a phone call, we're here to help you. So have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much.